understand bad things happen to good people. That's a horrible cliche, I think, but sometimes it's what gets you through. Or, maybe they're in a better place, or, just whatever it is that makes you feel better in being able to accept the loss. You don't necessarily experience these stages in this order, and you may experience, one or more of them. You are listening to It's All Mental Podcast, a show that empowers Black and brown females on how to maintain good mental health through personal and real life experiences. Each week, we explore various topics that any female can relate to. I am your host, licensed professional counselor, and owner of Glass Seats, Pamela Smith. What's up, good people? Coming to you this week to talk about loss and grief. Last week and this weekend in the Black community especially, we have had an abundance of social injustice and dealing with a lot of deaths in the entertainment community as well. In addition to that, still dealing with, being quarantined in this whole COVID-19 situation. Grief and loss can really be hard in any non-quarantine and non-COVID situation. So it can be a little different, while we're in this type of situation. Wanted to go over the what's called the 5 stages of grief. The first is denial. Denial is disbelief. Nope, it didn't happen. I can't believe this happened. This couldn't have happened to this person, or, this couldn't be happening to me. The second one is anger. You lash out at loved ones or people around you. You even lash out to your higher power, being angry, thinking, why would you let this happen? This is unfair. Life is unfair. It wasn't the right time. That sort of frame of thought. You have the next step, which is bargaining, especially again in the spiritual realm and your higher power. If you let this be this way, then I'll do this. How many times have you bargained with God and, Lord, if you let me get through this, then I'll go to church more often. If you let this happen, then I'll be a better person. Or universe, if you grant me this, then I will, say more affirmations per day, that sort of thing. Next stage is depression. You go into, sometimes it's noticeable, sometimes it's not. You start to isolate. You don't really want to talk. You go into deep thought. You don't want to eat, or you're eating more than you normally do. You can't sleep, or you're sleeping too much. Your mood just changes. You're sadder than you would normally be, or more quiet than you would normally be. You're experiencing that depression or that depressive state that is associated with the grief or the loss. And the last one is acceptance. And that is when you have finally been able to come to terms with the loss or the grief, and you're able to say, okay, well, I understand bad things happen to good people. That's a horrible cliche, I think, but sometimes it's what gets you through. Or, maybe they're in a better place, or, just whatever it is that makes you feel better in being able to accept the loss. You don't necessarily experience these stages in this order, and you may experience, one or more of them more often than other times. So it's not like this is, a structured process. It's just these are some of the things that you will experience as you are processing through the grief or the loss. And the reason why I keep saying grief or the loss is because oftentimes people don't associate loss with grief. They often associate grief with death, and that's not necessarily true. It's not all the way accurate, right? So anytime that you have a loss, it could be the loss of a job, the loss of a friendship, a loss of a relationship, a loss of a person, a loss of something that was very meaningful to you, you will grieve it. So it doesn't necessarily have to be just related to death. Again, this was a short mental note, not too long, because, like I said, we suffered a huge blow this past week with a tremendous amount of loss. We've had, I do believe, 3 or 4 social injustices, and then we had, I think, 3 or 4 losses in the entertainment community. So it's been a little rough. So keep your head up, do what you need to do to try to, keep all normalcy or as much normalcy as you can. And if you need to, contact a mental health provider. All right, I'll see you later. Thanks for listening to It's All Mental Podcast. If you could do us a favor and leave a review on Apple Podcast, that would be great. Until next week, I am your host, Pamela Smith.